All right. Okay. Thanks everybody for joining this weekly session where we enable, empower, support everybody in their journey to find the job they love. So today's topic, how to get the job you want and get employers to call you by Dr. Allen. We'll share a little bit more details at the end of this small slides. So this call is going to be recorded and shared on YouTube and social media. So if you're not comfortable being streamed or recorded, please leave the session now. So the community is going to help you boost your networking and practice skills and knowledge. So if you're comfortable sharing your LinkedIn profile in the chat and connecting with others who share their profile, that would help you grow your network. Again, we work to help see everyone in a job they love, as well as find your full potential. So the call, Dr. Allen will be speaking for around 35, 40 minutes or so. He may welcome some Q&A in the middle, but we wanna limit some questions to 2 minutes just to give a chance for others to ask as well. So we run a survey at the end of the call. It's just 1 minute. If you can fill that form, we'd love to hear how did we do today, and also work on what you want to get on future calls. So that survey is going to help us deliver the output that you need. At the end of this session, we want to take a group selfie with everybody. This is something that help us get more attendees through marketing, and also get people to know us more on LinkedIn and Facebook. So this whole community is all about volunteering. So Dr. Allen is providing his time and energy today and wisdom. So if you would be kind to give kudos recommendations to Dr. Allen, after the call, that would be great. You can use LinkedIn for that. So our promise as a community, we will help you to get hired within 3 to 6 months. You will not walk alone. So feel free to ask your questions. There is no right or wrong questions here. Apply what you learn, keep showing up, ask questions, be curious. This is how you will learn. This is how you will grow. This is how you will get hired. If you don't apply what you learn, you will not reach your goal. If you keep doing what you're doing, you keep getting what you're getting. That's always the case. So our goal is a little bit ambitious. We want to get more than 1,000 people hired in 2021, despite the pandemic. We already had like 10 plus people already got hired in the last few weeks, and more are coming. So our ask to you is, again, connect with the speaker and ask questions, connect with others, share this community with others. This is free. And there is a YouTube channel with all the videos, previous recordings, that contains great material for you to learn things related to resume, LinkedIn, interview, networking, job search strategies, storytelling, and lots of others. So feel free to use this. I will share the YouTube channel link in the chat. So our next sessions, we're going to continue to do this every week, 8 p.m., and it's going to be more Q&A. We might get also guest speakers like today, depending on how this will go, but it's going to happen every week, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern. So today's topic, how to get the job you want and get employers to call you. So the objective, doing what you've always done will get what you always get. This new approach will teach you how to get the job you want and get employers to call you. So our speaker today, Dr. Allen Lycka, will make any group laugh, cry, and take action. He will deliver a transformation experience that will take your audience, virtual or in person, to the next level. Don't stand for ordinary when you can have Dr. Lycka deliver extraordinary. Based on his best-selling book, The Secrets to Living a Fantastic Life, co-written with Woman of Distinction winner Harriet Tinka, Dr. Lycka delivers 13 golden pearls that are guaranteed to inspire change. A dynamic, humorous, and passionate speaker, Dr. Lycka has appeared on numerous radio, television, network stations, and hundreds of podcasts. He has also graced many international stages during his lifetime and is a TEDx speaker. With that, Dr. Lycka, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank
I'll
you
stop
very
sharing
much.
now.
Thank you very much. It's nice to see everybody tonight, and I'm glad everybody's here to learn a little bit about things. I'm going to be talking about a topic that's a little bit different than my usual topics, but at the same time, I think it'll help people to get the job they want and be passionate about it. Um, can we put up my slides there, please?
Yes. Yeah, if you want to share again.
Okay, let's share it again. Let's see what we open share tray. Yes, okay, there we are. I'll put up that one. There we go. Okay, are we sharing?
Awesome. Yes, it's sharing. We're
Wow,
good.
that worked out pretty well for something that I didn't know would work here. Okay, how to get the job you want and get employers to call you. Now, it. I want to say you don't have to be good to start, but you have to start to be good. If you don't start at what you're good at, you're never going to get there. I think that's a very important concept. You don't have to be good to start. You just have to start to be good. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. I think it's very important to realize that. Every day that you're in the market, every day you're looking is a new beginning, and you have to try again. Uh, all of you are heroes. I would like to impress that on you. You know, many of you have come from different lands, you've come different places, you've come to a country that hopefully will help you with all your dreams. But to get here, you've had to have a world of vision, you had to have a start, and it's been difficult. I know it's been difficult. Perhaps up until now, it wasn't what you expected. I would normally ask how many of you thought Canada is exactly as you expected. Uh, Dr. Zayed and I talked a little bit about when he arrived and how it was minus 30 in Ottawa when he got here. He was a door-to-door salesman, and how it was totally different than what he expected. Now, he made it through that first winter. He's now been here 7 years, and he literally has become a Canadian citizen. So he now laughs at winter and says, you know, it's one of those trials. And as I told Zayed, that it was a trial not by fire, but a trial by freezing. And, you know, the bad thing about winter is it's here for several months. The good thing is it makes the air fresh, and it does put a barrier up for things. But I think it's what makes Canada a real neat place. I think it's what makes Canada a real place. When I've been to Egypt and I told friends about minus 40, they say, how do you live? I said, well, it's easy. You dress for the occasion. And it's not that difficult. You know, we go from our heated inside buildings to our heated garages to our heated houses. And winter is something we deal with. And, you know, if you really like winter, you can ski, you can skate, you can involved in all the winter sports. And that is something that very little of the world has, and something to look forward to. Now, all of you have unique talents and abilities. And, you know, maybe you're not working in the field that you were trained to do in your own country, but you still have unique talents and abilities, and you have to use those talents and abilities to get to where you want to go. And I think that's important to realize. Perhaps Canada doesn't recognize the degrees that you've had. Well, you can certainly take more training in that. And the group here can also help put you in the right way of finding the right training and doing the right things to get where you want to be. And I think that's rather important, is that you shouldn't be limited by any beliefs or anything else. If you want to do something in particular, Canada is a land of opportunity where you literally can do anything you want. There's very few countries as free or as open as Canada to do all the things you want. Canada is one of those amazing places that you can literally do that. My family's history is my father emigrated when he was a boy from the Czech Republic. He, at the age of 9, he led his sister that was 7 and his brother that was 5 all the way across Europe all the way across Canada to come to Alberta. Now, to me, that is beyond belief how my father left his country. His father was already in Canada, and he came leading the small group. He didn't speak a word of English. Along the way, he was on a great big ship. And on that ship, a storm blew up, dramatic waves. He felt like he was a cork in a tidal wave. And, he told me, I asked him about that, and he said, if I got off that ship, I would have never got to the promised land. And that's true about everyone here. Everybody in Canada is really an immigrant in one form or another. It's a question of when they came. My mother's father came from the Ukraine, and they were homesteaders in Saskatchewan at the turn of the century. Now, a homesteader is somebody that got an acre, a quarter section of free land, and they had to clear the land. It was full of rocks and trees. Back then, there were no caterpillars, there were no, and they had to literally do it by hand. And they had no oxen. They had nothing to really till that land. But they cleared it, and my mother's side, there were 13 brothers and sisters altogether. So last year, my mother passed away at the age of 95. So, they came to Canada, the land of opportunity. And everybody here is from someplace else. Everybody here has arrived here to make a new country, a better life for them. Because of my mother's and father's upgrading, they wanted me to get an education. So I became a doctor. And not only a doctor, I became a cosmetic doctor, a dermatologist. I was the top of the pack until I retired 2 years ago. And how did I get there? Well, the answer is through drive and ambition. And people always ask, what was my secret to success? Well, really, there really isn't one. People should not think there's a magic bullet to success. People should not really think that is some secret hidden away. Secret really is, think of what you want to do and do it. Find the ways to do it. Put one little baby step in front of another baby step and another baby step and literally get there. If you want to do something in particular, you should try and do what you want to do. There's immense opportunities here to work in the fields of IT, to work in training, to work in making seminars, to make in all these things. And I think everybody should take that opportunity and literally live that opportunity. I know the road is often hard, and I know it's often defeating. I'm sure Mr. Zayed said, oh, they don't want people from Egypt here along the way. And they don't want people here from Brazil. They don't want people, actually, that's not true. In Canada, it's our differences that make us stronger. And that's the unique thing about Canada. Instead of being a melting pot like the United States, we are totally different. We like people to be of their original country of origin and to bring those talents and to bring it here. That's what makes Canada a very special place. But the one thing you have to be is you have to be 100% responsible for your actions. You have to take that responsibility and work at it. You shouldn't be using all sorts of things as excuses for not getting what you want. You shouldn't be thinking about excuses. You need to be 100% responsible for your actions. That is the one requirement to success that you will never rise above. Without being 100% responsible, you'll never get to where you want to go. And the second most important thing is you have to be persistent, because there is going to be rejection along the way. There is definitely going to be times when you put in an application and you're not going to hear from them. You can probably put in 100 applications and maybe hear from 1 or 2 people, okay? And there will probably be 100 people lining up for that one job. Okay. So being persistent is very, very, very important in all this. Without being persistent, you will never get to where you want to be. And persistence is a trait that you must be willing to say, okay, I tried, that didn't work. I'm going to try something else. I'm going to try something else. And you got to keep on trying. And that is one thing I'll guarantee. If you're persistent, you will get the job you want. I'll guarantee it. I won't say it's going to happen tomorrow. I'm not going to say it's going to happen in a week or a month or a year, but you will get what you want if you're persistent. When I applied to medical schools, I had to apply to over 100 medical schools to get a position. When I applied to dermatology schools, I had to apply to hundreds of them to get a position. I finally found a position at the University of Minnesota in the Twin Cities in the United States. So I had to leave my own country to find the training I wanted, but it was worth it. And I came back and I had an amazing career. Now, have you ever peeled an onion? An onion is amazing in that it has a lot of concentric circles. And all of those concentric circles are there because of our programming. And we are programmed to think in a certain way. We are programmed to act in a certain way. And I'm going to ask you to throw out that programming and start on a new path. I'm going to say you must think of it like an onion. You have to pull back on all that training that you've had and get to the core that's right there. Okay? If you do that, you will get what you want. Now, I'm going to try and open your mind a little bit. How many squares are in this picture? Mr. Zayed, how many squares are here?
So it's, obviously 16 plus, other combination of other squares.
Yes, and that's the thing, is you got to think of all the combinations, right? Because
Yes.
this is pretty obvious there's 16 squares here. But what about this square? Whoops, let's go back a bit. I pressed too quickly. What about this square in the middle and this bigger square around the outside? There's another 2 squares. What about these 4 squares? And what about these squares, another 4 squares? And what about these squares here and these squares here? And then do it the other way. We have these squares here and these squares here. So instead of 16, we probably have about 30 in all. When you count all the combination and permutations in it.
Yeah.
Now, why am I pushing you that way? Because you've got to think outside the box. You really have to think about how you can get from point A to point B without the usual way. Because if you do the same thing you've done, you're going to get what you've already gotten, which is usually rejection. And that is not what I want you to do. I want you to be accepted. And I want you to be able to get beyond those squares and look at things in a different way. Now that's a pretty neat little example. Now, here's another example. You see these 9 little dots there? I want you to think how you can connect these dots, all of them, with 4 straight lines. Yeah. Now, some of you are going to say, that's impossible. You can't do that because you put a line through here, you put a line through here, you put a line through, then you're missing this line. So maybe if we put an X in that, but that's getting us to 5 lines. Okay? So that's not what I want you to do. Here's how you can connect all those lines without lifting the pencil with 4 straight lines. Okay, now what did we do? You had to go outside the box that was there in order to do that. I didn't say you had to stay inside the box. All I said is you had to connect it with 4 straight lines without lifting your pencil. Okay? Now, can you do it with 3 straight lines? Okay, people are going to say, no, that's impossible again. Okay, well, here's 3 straight lines. We've connected all the dots. But did we stay inside the box? No. No one said you had to stay inside the box. And I really want you to get outside the box when you're thinking. And if you want to look unique to an employer, you have to do it in a different way than the other people are doing. You know, everybody is filling out those little forms online. They're filling out things in such a way that everybody is getting the same thing. So employers are getting hundreds of responses from people, and they're looking at these and saying, how do I choose? And quite often it's a random process. It's a random process. Yes, they look for people that have the minimum skills, but after there's the minimum skills, it's very difficult to choose the difference between. So I'm going to teach you another approach to really stand out from the crowd. Something that will help you a lot to stand out from the crowd. So the first thing I want you to do is to realize that every group has a group of associations with it. There's a directory of associations for every group. If you want to look up doctors, there's an association for them. If you want to look up dentists, there's an association for them. If you want to look up IT professionals, there's an association of them. And I suspect there's probably a dozen associations for IT professionals, not just one. All of them claiming to be the #1 association, but each one has their own merits and so on. Another person said they're in digital marketing. Well, how many associations are there for digital marketing out there? Hundreds? Okay. But if you want to find out how to do it, I think look first at the associations that are out there, figure them out, and become a member of those associations. Now, the greatest fear everybody has in the world is something that's unique to every one of us, and it's the fear of rejection. It's something that every one of us has. I'll guarantee everybody fears being rejected. You know, coming to this group, I'm sure some of you were a little hesitant to join a group like this because you felt you wouldn't belong. You felt that you had some skills that weren't quite right. You felt that you were different in some way. Well, that's fine. But the thing is, and this is the thing I like about Mr. Zayed, is he has started a community that is one where it doesn't matter you're different. It doesn't really matter if you have different training. It doesn't really matter if you have different bargaining. It doesn't matter what country you've come from. It doesn't matter. But you know, that's the things that make you stronger, not strong. Okay? So how to overcome rejection? Okay? You're putting out applications and you're getting rejected. How do you overcome rejection? The answer is multiple letters. You send in 100, 2 are likely going to make Peter. Okay? Law of averages. The more you put in, the better chance of it. Now, that means they have to all be good letters. Okay? And they have to stand out. But important to send multiple letters. It's important to send in multiple things. The other thing you can do is find people that need IT professionals and apply to them even before they start looking. Okay? Because that's how you stand out from the crowd. If you stand out from the crowd even before they're looking, guess what? You're not in line with hundreds of other people. I have a nephew who is an electrician. Okay. Well, guess what? there was this COVID pandemic that went on for 18 months. Do you think he didn't work a day out of that 18 months? No, he was totally employed. How did he do it? Well, he'd go to job sites. He'd introduce himself and say, are you looking for an electrician? There wasn't a week that went by without him finding a job. Okay? He found jobs in all sorts of places. Now, at the age of 21, he's been gainfully employed through the whole pandemic. So is the pandemic an excuse for not finding a job? I think it's an excuse for a lot of people. I think it really, what do people need more when they need IT, they need digital stuff. When I decided not to be a doctor anymore, I decided to become a public speaker. Well, the whole public speaking industry was gone. $1.5 billion industry. No one was hiring people for stages. But guess what? They needed people for virtual stages. And virtual stages are everywhere. They need speakers every week. I talked to Mr. Zayed 2 weeks ago, and I said, can you come last Thursday? I said, I'm sorry, I can't. I've got another engagement. And he said, well, can you come tonight? And I said, I'd be delighted to. He said, well, good. I would love to have you. He didn't know exactly what I'd tell people tonight. He didn't know what I was saying, but he knew the people that knew me, and they knew what I was going to talk about. And my story is one of hope and enthusiasm. Back in 2003, I was one of the world's leading cosmetic doctors. And I was walking in Disneyland with my dear wife, Lucy. And she turned to me and she said, what's wrong with you, hon? I said, what do you mean? I don't think there's anything wrong with me. She said, listen to your foot. What do you mean, listen to your foot? She said, listen to it. Well, my right foot had suddenly and mysteriously developed a right foot drop. Now, your brain is programmed so that when you walk, your foot doesn't drop and trip you. Well, my right foot was not working properly. My wife said, did you have a stroke? I said, dear, you're a doctor. I'm a doctor. That's not how strokes present. She said, well, you need to find out what's wrong. When we get back to Canada, we were in Disneyland at the time. She said, you better get this checked out. Well, I saw hundreds of doctors, thousands of doctors, and they didn't know what was wrong with me. At the end of that, they said, I'm going to send you to a neurologist. A neurologist is the brain guy. He's the guy that has all the answers to all your questions. He's the guy that knows neurological questions. So I walked in and I said, hi. He said, hi back. He said, you better be sitting down when I tell you this. I said, why? He said, I've got a dropped right foot. He said, no, you don't. You have Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, he said. This is a disease where you're going to be dead in 6 months. I said, is there a way to prove this diagnosis? He said, of course, with an autopsy. I said, I'm not going to die to prove you wrong. So, my story is one that was unique. I found a way around the problem. I found I didn't have ALS. I found I didn't have Lou Gehrig's disease. And I'm still here in 2021 helping people find their path and people find their way. So, even a death sentence is not something you should look at and take verbatim. You should really look at it and move forward. And you should look forward in everything you do. Every day is a day of opportunity. Every day is a day to find something more powerful. Every day is a day where you can do something very good. And one of the tools I've found that is very useful is to not just send a resume to people, but to make a gold letter. A letter on goldenrod paper. Why? Because everybody's applying just on the internet and so on. But if you send a letter on goldenrod paper, it stands out. It stands out better than anything else. And this is a letter available immediately. One qualified, experienced, dependable, responsible blank. I have done the following. Tell them what you've done. Besides graduating from, I have worked at, and my reason to make a change is to blank. I am blank years old, blank tall. I weigh so many pounds or kilograms, if you like. Why do I say put that in there? Because it gives the employer something in their mind's eye to look at. They look at things in a different way. Your company will gain, number one, an experienced blank, a dependable person who wants to work, a responsible individual who will put out work that will blank. So you tell them exactly what you will do. If you're an IT person, you're going to tell them exactly what you're going to do in IT. You're going to tell them exactly what you've done. I will help solve your blank problems today. Everybody has problems that they want solved. Very important to do that. Okay, if you can solve their problems, that's important. Call blank and ask for blank. I live at blank. I am available immediately. Can you see how a simple letter like that would stand out from the crowd? Can you see how simple that would be to make you look above everything else? First, it gets their attention. First, it does something that stands out. If this came across my desk, I'd look at it. Okay, here's another sample letter. Okay, meet blank, a blank if I've ever met one. Okay, meet Joe, a hardworking, brilliant IT person if I've ever seen one. And you go through and put down your skills. I like some very important words like dynamic, resourceful, honest, direct, a risk taker, persistent, positive, quick to learn, qualified, strong people background and people skills in, if you want to be working with the complaints department, handling complaints, problem solving, motivating others, knowing when to listen, knowing when and how to ask questions, a graduate blank with a blank and a minor in blank. Tell them what your skills are. Tell them where you've had your IT training. Why, Joe? Well, because Joe is a person that really can help your company. Your company will gain a person that with a high blank drive. Somebody that works hard. An enhanced reputation in the business world. A lower turnover rate. I'm career oriented. Tell them you're not going to go someplace else right away. Okay? Goldenrod paper. Why goldenrod paper? Because goldenrod is the brightest color that's available. They've done studies where they've sent things on white paper, 100 of them. They get 102, they send for every 1,000 they'd send out, there'd be 102 responses. Goldenrod paper, it's 142 responses. Simple technique. Okay, here's that letter a little bit stronger and a little bit there. And if anybody wants the sample of this letter afterwards, please write me and I'll send you the draft of this. Okay, meet blank, a blank if I've ever met one, said by her former employer with over 25 years in blank, that Joe is dynamic, resourceful, honest, direct, a risk taker, persistent, positive, quick to learn, qualified, strong people background and people skills in blank, 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 blank. A graduate of blank with a degree in blank and a minor in blank. Why? Okay, we've talked a little bit more about that. And here's the second part of the page. And then just put stack your best feet forward so you're not in that pile of unending resumes. Okay, here's somebody, here's a resume, here's that gold letter for somebody with a, wants to be a salesperson. Do you see how it falls in line with the salesperson? Okay. Here's another one for Linda. Can you see how this will fall in line for somebody that's a... So this is a technique to use in your toolkit, something that you can use to open the door, even for companies that aren't hiring. And if you'd like to get a little bit of a, for this, write me, baslcjsm@gmail.com. And I will gladly share these templates with you because these templates open doors. Now, I'm not suggesting for a minute you don't need a resume, Zayed. I think that's important that you do have a resume. But this can be the start to getting that resume read because everybody's sending the same resumes. 20 pages, 30 pages, 100 pages. You know, okay, that's great. But how do you differentiate from 100 people with very similar resumes? Okay, so with that, I'm going to throw the floor open to questions so people can now have an opportunity to talk about this very important matter because I think it's very important to, okay, can you take down my slides now, sir?
Yes, sir. Let me do that for you. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I took it out. Okay, first of all, thank you so much. This was really inspiring and lots of wisdom there. Definitely a new technique that I learned today. This golden letter and other types of letter that you shared. It's definitely an eye-opening for me and maybe Mike. You want to share something from your end?
That's an interesting letter. Yeah, it's a different approach. I haven't seen anything like that in the past, but you know what? It stands out, and as you say, you want to be sure to stand out when you're applying for a job. But what I did like about what you said was send it to companies that aren't even looking, and if they do have your resume and they have it on file, if they get a position that opens up quickly before they post it, they may go through their database, and who knows, you may get an opportunity ahead of somebody else to get, looked at. So an interesting journey to Canada also. Interesting.
For sure. And it's a very interesting, and I'm sure everybody on this call has had an interesting journey to Canada, has a different way of getting here and how it was shock to their system when they got here. I think that's important that people realize that that makes Canada a very unique place, that everybody's from someplace else.
So true.
So now we can open it up for questions. If you have any question, feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question. If there is multiple people, maybe you can raise your hand too. Majid, any questions from your side? I know.
I'd like only say thank you so much for your presentation, Dr. Allen. You have a gift for speech, and for me, now I'm feeling inspiring for your words. You are so kind as well. Thank you so much.
Well, you're very welcome, Carla. And as I say, it's a frustrating thing to come here from your native country. It's hard to speak the language. It's hard to even put some of the things together, But the thing is, that's okay, That's okay. We're not going to hold that against you, you know. It's something that becomes a strength rather than something that's not a strength. It's beautiful that people come from their own cultures and so on. My wife's family came. My wife's name is Bernier. She's a French Canadian, and her ancestors came over at the time of Jacques Cartier in 1560 or so. They came on their own boat, settled in Quebec. You know, so you know, all sorts of things happen when you look for something good, and that's the important thing that we have here. Is there's always something better that way, that you look for the good and you find it.
So true.
Thank you. Okay, cool. Any questions? Yeah, go ahead, Amr.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Dr. Allen and Ahmed, for this very good amount of information and, you know, innovative ways how to reach. So maybe my question is about the letters. You know, I really see that these letters are really innovative and eye-catching. But my question is, wouldn't be any one of those employers could think that this is non-professional letter by, like, they expect like dear sir and all these things?
You know, it's always possible. People can look at things in different ways, Amr. But I think the important thing is, if you send out 100 of these, you're going to get the door opened and more people that think this is unique and different than other people. So I think at the same time, you're not closing doors, you're opening them. And I think that's the important thing with this, is that it's a tool. You know, everybody's sending out resumes, and believe me, you need a good resume. But the point is, they all look the same. You know, and that's the difficulty that people are having these days, is really getting people even to look at their resumes. You know, that's the problem. So if you put your best skills forward in an attention-getting device like this, I think you're going to get there. You know? There's an old saying that you get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. Well, this is the honey that we're putting out there for it. And honey is a very important thing. You're doing this way. You're making it, you're opening the doors. And you notice that I said that you should also do this by mail or applying to places, because again, the internet space is just so crowded out there. It's just so crowded that it just is hard to make an impression that way.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why I think it's important to get your foot in the door with different attention-getting devices.
Thank you much.
Yeah, and your advice about, you know, asking employers even before they, you know, start hunting for employees. This is again another great wisdom, because, you know, if you know them ahead of time, definitely you will be in top of mind too. So it's a great wisdom. Thank you for that.
And at the very least, they might just put your application aside for a while. But at least it was looked at.
Yeah.
At least it was looked at. Whereas the other times, it's not even looked at. And I think that's what's important that way. So I'll send Ahmed a template for these letters so that he can share them with you freely. You can write me as well, and I'll gladly share them with you. I think these little things are very important to get the door open.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So one thing also I want to share about Amr, you know, he's a great trader in stocks. He taught me a lot of things about stocks, and, you know, he learned it by himself too. And he's, you know, if you want to consult him in anything about stocks, he's a great person to go to, despite of his IT and you know, project management background too.
Thank you, Ahmed. It's just one year experience, not much.
But it's a lot of experience, Amr. Trust me, you have a lot of experience.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Majid, I want you to speak a little bit here. I want to hear from you. So Majid is a professor in Ottawa U here, and he's also a public figure in Ottawa. I will let him speak about himself. You know, I don't want to discount anything about him, but he's still also a brother and a colleague of mine too. So Majid, Please enlighten us a little bit from what you.
You're making me blush. First of all, I have 3 children jumping around me, so it's gonna be you're gonna have some musical background. Second is hi Selma, you want to say hi? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So Selma's not feeling well. She's been getting a little feverish. All the kids in the family are catching some kind of bug. We're all vaccinated, but we don't know what's passing around. But hopefully, all of your children and loved ones also remain safe. And so, thank you so much for the for hosting this, Ahmed. This is very, very appreciated. And very nice to meet you, Dr. Lycka, and everybody here. It is truly an honor. Speaking on my own experience, I have I'm now in my mid 30s, so still kind of have people say have a lot of career growth ahead of me. But I have actually never worked as an employee in my life. So starting from the age of 16, I started my first company. By age 20, I had Google and Microsoft as investors. I worked in medical electronics. I started social media startups. I did engineering design startups, software, hardware. My technical background was in electronics engineering, and I did like a double major in math and engineering and a double minor in physics and computer science. Quite the nerd, but on the other side, I was always really interested with humanitarian work and media and advocacy, and so kind of there's that. Now I teach at the University of Ottawa at electrical engineering as well as in entrepreneurship. And one of the common problems I see, I actually teach of some case studies of the common problems that I myself go through, is what they call like a pie personality, where it's most common for people to develop like a T kind of a personality where you're an expert in the field and have some breadth in general knowledge. But now I have so much work and degrees, experience in two sometimes almost separate fields, which is the engineering, design, and technology entrepreneurship from one side, and the other side in community work, social, counseling, advocacy, and relief work. And so it always feels like that there's always that feeling of being an imposter, right? Like there's always the feeling that when I'm within the engineering community, I'm a professional engineer, I have the designation, I have all that, but I feel I'm not engineer enough because I have all this other work. And then when I'm working with all the humanitarian work, I served as an imam for a couple of years. I'm currently the spokesperson for the Canadian Council of Imams, and work with several organizations, volunteer as a fundraiser or marketing director. And it's always that problem that I have to like blaze my own trail because they don't work well. But this letter is really something that the idea of the letter has been fantastic because it's every single time I find a job opportunity, it's a pain to craft a resume that doesn't show this person is all over the place, right? So like I have to craft the resume to say like, oh, I'm a T person. Forget about this other branch of 10 years of experience here, in parallel with this. So it's always that bit of challenge.
If I can summarize, your situation, it's should we be a generalist or should we a specialist? This is what you are trying to get here. Maybe Dr. Allen can provide us some insights here.
I think when you're looking for a job, when you're applying for a job, you want to put your best straights forward for that particular job. And it's very easy to summarize on one sheet. Very hard to summarize in a resume. Very hard to summarize in something like that. So that's how you are able to put your best straights forward. And it's able to do it in such a way that it's only one page, and nobody likes to read 30, 40, 50 pages, but one page they'll look at.
That's in fact, I went back again into the job market. So my life over the last like 5 or 6 years has been, at any given point, is that I have sometimes 4 up to 7 contracts. So I would be working with the federal government on some part of like a design. I'll be working with the provincial or the municipality level on some advocacy or equity position, provide some like either legal compliance to some Islamic organizations, give some marketing contractors, so kind of consulting on 1,000 different things, as well as my teaching at the university. And so what kind of sums up is that when I started going back to now looking that, I need to kind of focus on a full-time opportunity that I can make a much more strong impact, much stronger impact on that, one field. The applications that I send, I just attach. I always create a one-pager that has 0 gaps, where I mentioned like 3 most recent connected projects that I was a manager for within that field, and then an educational degree in that field, and some achievement in that field. And it was like a very, very straightforward, right? But it still really feels like it's very hard to try. Like I have the CV, the entire curriculum vitae of mine, where I put every experience to pick from, and it's about like 13 pages. So trying to pick and make a single page has always been the most difficult way to interact, and also kind of feeling true to myself that this is a very small part of who I am, and it makes me sometimes hesitate in, do I actually want to work a full-time opportunity on this? So there might be like kind of a hesitation of how I can narrow down on the focus of so many things I've been working. As Ahmed said, yeah, kind of once you become known in the community, there's no going back, right? So like I get phone calls, 30 to 40 phone calls a day, like 1,000 messages, a month on requests on different things, and it's quite hard to unplug from all of this.
Well, exactly, and I think that's the job. That's the problem with the world these days, is that everybody is inundated with way too much stuff every day, and it's very hard to unplug from it.
And you've got 3 young kids you're raising also, which need your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're mute, Majid. Yasin, you had a question? You raise your hand.
Yes, I did.
Sorry, go ahead, Majid.
Just
Sorry.
going.
Go ahead, Yasin.
Just going back to the fact that you mentioned that it's really hard to show your strength into like one page, or and the fact that you mentioned about being creative, would it be a better, maybe not a better, but a good idea to use that idea of creativity, yet somehow show it into a technical aspect, since a lot of us are more in the IT field, more using computers, digitalized. So maybe like this is just an example I'm thinking about, like at the top of my mind, right? Maybe it's a letter, but it's a QR code showcasing your online resume, or like your website showcasing your portfolio and other projects that you've been working on. Would that be a better idea, or like not a better idea, but like an idea where we could both integrate creativity that with a letter and then bring it into the digital where we could showcase our strengths?
I will let Ahmed say something about that because that's his whole field.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, again, the creativity is a very important thing here. And, it depends on the employer, culture and the employer, let's say, learning journey too, because, each employer is different. Each employer has a different culture, and they might be open to creative ideas. Some employers are a little bit, they want to get what they expect all the time. So again, the answer is it depends, and you may again want to check the other side. What they are looking for, and how to put yourself at the best, fit for that employer.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Sounds good. Thank you.
no problem. Lorraine, do you want to ask any question?
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
For today, no, but I actually about this point about the culture, about if I can have more ideas, creativity. How are you get this feeling? Um, do you have some tips about some cultures? Because in Canada, you have many different cultures.
Dr. Allen, do you want
I am living in Brazil yet, so I am just here to learn with you guys.
Okay,
Sure.
Ahmed, why don't you take that?
Sounds good. I can take that. So this is a journey, Lauren. Like you don't learn this from day one, and it takes time, and you just need to take some notes, and keep being curious. Every company is different. You will learn from every person different things. So you learn from me something, you learn from Mike something, Dr. Allen something else, and everybody will add to you, will add to what you know, and how you could adapt to those new cultures, to those new companies and employers. And accordingly, you can, draft your sales pitch, draft, what make them listen to you, So you always need to sell your value, what's in it for them to hire you. What problem are you solving to their organization? Like Dr. Allen mentioned in his letter, the problem that you're solving, this is a unique thing. You need to explain this in few words, because again, the other person might be, you know, not very technical too. Most HR or recruiters are not technical. Mike here is not technical, but he deals with so many folks in the IT world. He know Java, he know HTML as a word. He never did programming, but he know how they look like, how they work, and he started to learn this time by time. Mike, do you want to add anything here?
Yeah, and certainly, and what you want to do if you want to learn about different cultures of the country you're looking to think about coming to is just learn about the country itself and learn about the different people, the types of people. Like, we're not a melting pot, as Dr. Allen was saying. Everyone is still unique in their own way. But you know what? If you're going to be in HR or whatever field you're in, I mean, I'm not a technical person. I'm far from it. But I do understand some points of technology and what technology is and how it works. Like, can I write code? No. Can I set up a router? No. But can I speak to what that Java, why they developed the Java to run the program, to run this piece of equipment, to run this program, to run this software, whatever it is? Network engineering, as Ahmed would know, it depends. It runs, part of the data center, part of the, the infrastructure. You learn over over years, but it's just and be anxious to learn. That's the key.
And
And
yeah,
I think this is something that you have to realize is that your life is one of learning forever, and you have to be willing and ready to learn. And are you going to make mistakes along the way? Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Okay? But guess what? Mistakes are our greatest teachers. You learn more from your mistakes than your successes any day. So you got to be willing to make a mistake. You got to be willing to do that. And, you know, looking from Brazil at Canada, it's a different world. You know, it's a totally different world. But it's a culture that's accepting, and it's a culture that's more accepting than almost any other culture on the face of the planet.
So true. So true.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. Okay, so it's 9 o'clock. We're almost on time. So if you want to take this group selfie, and you know, if anyone have more questions, we could maybe stay for a few minutes afterwards and answer those questions. So if everybody's ready to come on camera, we just take the group selfie. Give it a few seconds here if anyone else want to join. Okay. So, okay, okay. Sounds good. So when you're ready, I'm gonna say 1, 2, 3, and I want to see a great smile. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, and smile. Awesome. I got it. Great picture, everybody. Thank you so much, Dr. Allen. This has been amazing. Cool.
Great.
Lots of wisdom, lots of, you know, great insights and new techniques. I learned a lot. And again, I want to open up the floor if anyone else has any follow-up question you want to share, ask. We're happy to stay for a bit.
And I would like to thank you for this opportunity to come to this meeting and share my experience with you. And I thank you very much for being able to share some of my wisdom that I've taken along the way.
Always a pleasure, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, any final questions, queries? Anyone? And it's your chance. Nobody will judge you. You're among friends. Feel free to ask anything.
Maybe Ahmed, I have a question.
Go ahead, Amr.
Yeah. So, Dr. Allen, yeah, what could be the criteria, like a differentiation between am I thinking out of the box, or I'm thinking away out of the whole idea? I mean, how can I differentiate if I'm still going into the track but thinking out of the box, or I'm losing the whole way?
You know, that's a difficult thing to answer when you're as I tried to show you from a couple of examples. When I asked how many squares are in that box, you know, the first answer was obvious. It was 16. But then when you started looking at it and got to the 30 there, so no right answer to whether you're sitting in the box or out of the box. The key is to try and keep it as simple as possible. And I think that's something that people don't realize, that the KISS principle is so important. Keep it simple.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Yeah, I think simplicity is a key word here, because you know we tend to sometimes overcomplicate things and you know put some blocks in our way. You know, I did this myself while I was searching, and I thought maybe I should be so much greater than what I am to find the jobs, but you know it was just simplicity, just finding the right words, speaking the right thing that employers want to listen to and sell the value.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Cool. That's a great question, Amr. Okay. I don't see any other questions. So thank you so much, everybody, for showing up today. Really a pleasure to have you all. Please come again next Thursday. Bring your friends. This is free. This is for everybody. You know, if you see somebody struggling, just get them with you. It's a nice place to be, and as you can see, it's all about asking questions, picking your brain, and we learn from you as well. So thanks everybody for
100%.
showing up. Thanks, Dr. Allen, again for your participation today, and looking forward to have you again with us in the future.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very
Dr.
much.
Allen.
Thank you very much.
Nice meeting you, Majid. Nice story.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same here. Thank you all. You too.
Obrigado.
Obrigado.
To all my Brazilian family. I call them family.
Thank you so much.
Obrigada. Tchau, tchau.
You're
Take
welcome.
care. Take care.
Good
Bye.
night. Take care.
Have a nice one.